Woo! I've already filmed this video once already, but for some reason some of the clips didn't do whatever it is they needed to do. Basically, they're just not coming up on my computer, so we're doing this again. Woo! Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and happy 2026. It's basically the end of January, so we've already had 84 years of 2026, especially with everything that's happening. I was going to put my glasses on. Oh my god. Gotta look after that eyesight. 2 seconds. Put a cut in here or something. There we go. Oh, but then you can, right. If I tip my head down, yeah, but go like that, you can see the ring light, it's fine. I should get a softbox or something. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. So, it's 2026, and I just want to start the year with something a bit fun, a bit chill, setting us up for the right start to the year, even though it's the end of January. But hey, who decided the 1st of January was the start of the new year? It's pretty arbitrary. So I'm making in bulk the start of my year. So there we go. It's timely now. This video is now timely. Woo. So today's video is things that I do and do not have time for in 2026. I made a similar video last year or the year before. I'll link it. It's probably that side, isn't it? Oh, who flipping cares? But yeah, I did a similar video in the past, which was more things I don't have time for. And whilst I think that is a good way to do things, with all of the badness that is happening, I also wanted to add kind of a more positive, a more active, a more empowering side to it. So instead of just things that I don't have time for, I also wanted to add in things that I do have time for. Things that I want to make more time for or foster more in my life as well. Hopefully this will inspire you to think about your own do's and don'ts in terms of where you're going to put your time this year, because there is so much taking our attention. So yeah, I think being mindful about that is probably a useful thing. Shall I bring back Show of the Week for 2026? I always forget. Show of the Week is Joe the Little Women musical, because I did the concert for it on the Sunday after the day I'm filming this. Who knows which Sunday it was when this gets uploaded. So yeah, I'll put the cast recording in the description. Check it out. So without further ado, here are 6 things that I do and don't have time for in 2026. I've made notes. I'm not going to apologise. The first thing that I don't have time for, we're going to do don'ts then do's, even though the title is do and don't. But I've written them don't and then do, so we're doing it in that order. The first thing I don't have time for is bypassing. In some of the corners of the internet that I frequent, there's a lot of talk about spiritual bypassing and how like all the love and light people are just like, yeah, just manifest goodness and don't think about the bad stuff. And it's like, but honey, sweetie, baby, fascism. So that's a problem. But I also think in all areas, bypassing is a thing. And especially, I've been thinking a lot about the overlap with, or the similarities, I should say, between spiritual bypassing and I guess like cultural bypassing or artistic bypassing. I think I think there is a lot of that, and I think especially when we have people starting companies against woke plays and asking for non-woke play submissions. Tangent aside, like when we have companies actively trying to pander to the right and the far right, we cannot afford to culturally bypass as an industry and as artists. I'm not going to get onto a debate of like what's the point of art if you're not speaking to the current times anyway. That's for another video. Obviously work takes time to program, so it's not me being like right now, want the plays right now, like, you know, the way programming works, like it does take some time, but yeah, I don't have time for not pretending what's happening isn't happening. I don't know what the solution to that is, and I think everyone has to find their own way with how comfortable they are in being kind of open about how they feel about everything and how it's affecting them. I'm definitely going to be giving a bit more of the side eye to programming or just anything where it's like it feels like you are deliberately not ignoring everything that's going on. I know with commercial theatre, like of course commercial theatre is not going to touch controversy with a 10-foot pole because it's commercial. And you know, they don't want to alienate anyone from potentially being in their audience. Like, I get that. And I worry that the scarcity mindset that we've had for so long with, you know, austerity and so many cuts to arts council funding and the feeling of scarcity for jobs, especially for actors. You know, I think it is really difficult when you're in that scarcity mindset collectively of like, there's a lack of funding, there's a lack of jobs, there's a lack of opportunities. It's hard to take a stand for what you believe in because you don't want to jeopardize any opportunities that might come your way. I guess I'm just getting to a point now where I'm like, well, if the world's on fire, then like, is there going to be a West End? like you know, climate collapse. There's not gonna be Les Mis for its like 60th, 70th year. It is kind of where I'm at the moment, and that's just one of the many things. But yeah, I just don't have time for bypassing anymore. And I think we're doing a disservice if we're not speaking to our times. Like as artists, that's what art is meant to do. We need to start thinking about like what's actually going to make the world and the society better, and how can our art serve that, is my opinion, in as much capacity and with as much power as we have to do what we can. So I'm definitely going to be looking out for shows and supporting venues that actively try and program the kind of work that I think we should be making right now. I think that's enough on that. That's number one of what I don't have time for in 2026. What I do have time for, in contrast, is Whimsy and Joy, which sounds counterintuitive to the massive rant that I just went on. But yeah, Whimsy and Joy, I just want to foster more of that in my life, in my own personal artistic practice as well. I think one of the things I've noticed about myself coming out of that is that I put a lot of pressure on myself and I don't make enough space for fun and play. And that's not just in my creative practice. I think that's like in general. I think in some areas of my life I find it easier to like dip into the whimsy and the joy, but I definitely want to foster more of that in 2026. Partly because I think I do better work creatively when I do that. Partly because, again, what's the point of living if we can't have whimsy and joy? And like, you know, I'm not gonna let these times take that away from me, and I'm definitely not gonna let myself take that away from me because I've been doing that for far too long. I'm allowed to be whimsical even though I'm my big old age, she says, with her birthday next week. Yeah, like, I'm gonna die one day, feck it, I'm gonna be whimsical and you can't stop me. I'm gonna be joyful and you can't stop me, and if I try and top myself, I'm gonna be like, no, you promised yourself you've got time for this, so make time for this. I want to make more time for play, whimsy, joy. I think that's gonna be one of my kind of guiding lights this year when I'm tackling anything, whether that's an audition or whether that's you know, a little creative side project, or whether it's just, you know, choosing between two choices. You know, it's definitely something that I'm going to be considering in 2026. So yeah, that's one thing I do have time for. The second thing that I don't have time for in 2026 is West End or theatre gossip and or drama. To be honest, I've never really been into the whole like drama thing. Like, I don't even know if there have been any big dramas. Oh, there was the drama with burlesque actually last year. Like, I rarely get sucked into it, but sometimes I do. Like the burlesque thing, I was like, oh my gosh, have you heard about this? I just think it's a distraction. And like, this is no shade to people who find that kind of fun and intriguing. Like, and I do think it's different when you're working in the industry versus whether you're just a fan of in the industry. You know, I think when you're a fan, because you have that you're removed from it a bit more. I guess it's kind of like celebrity drama, although I've never really been into celebrity drama either, but you know, it's kind of, you're never gonna know or meet or work with these people. Like, it's just kind of like, oh my god, have you seen this, like this casting announcement and that casting announcement, and ooh, what's coming in next. I just think it's a waste of my time and energy, to be honest. I just think I'd rather put my energy into things that are actually going to make an impact. Like, not necessarily a big impact, but like, you know, something that's gonna, you know, forward my own creative practice, or is going to educate me in some way about something, or give me actual useful information that I can then use, like with networking, for example. So yeah, I'm just not fussed anymore. And I think in our very attention grabby media world, I think a lot of outlets are kind of leaning into that, and I don't like it. Like, I've noticed that What's on Stage has started doing these, they've probably been doing it for about 6 months now, of whenever there's like a major cast change, especially with the big musicals, or even like if it's not in the West End, just like a bigger show's announced, they'll do these features of being like, who is so-and-so, of like whoever's been cast. And full disclosure, I don't read them because I don't care. Just the way that they title it makes it feel like, oh, this person that's just come out of the woodwork. And I'm looking, and even if it's someone who I've never heard of before, I'm like, well, they haven't just come out of the woodwork. They've probably been like grafting hard in smaller things that, you know, What's on Stage hasn't deigned to talk about. But even like one of the ones recently, they recently announced the new cast of the one with the poor French people, Les Miserables. Am I wrong? Les Miserables, and the woman who's playing Madame Thénardier, who I haven't seen her in anything, but I've seen that she's been in stuff. And so it's saying like, who is this person? And I'm just like, she's been around the block. Like, why are you acting like it's why are you acting like it's like, oh, this nobody? I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me, which is another reason why I've never really read those articles. So like, feel free to come at me and be like, you're absolutely wrong, that's not how they read, but like, I don't care. Yeah, you know, help me with the algorithm, leave a comment, it's fine, thank you very much. But yeah, I'm more interested in like what work is actually being put on, and if I am interested about like the people in shows, it's more like if I see them do an amazing performance, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about, oh, who's the personality that's now been cast in this thing. I care about, is the show good? And that includes the performances, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm not gonna know that until I've seen the people perform. I don't know. It's just something about the celebrityification of areas of our industry that are kind of more in the public zeitgeist, and I get it, but I'm just not interested. Also, it just adds to toxic comparison as well. When you're in the industry, when you're getting sucked into all of this drama and you're like living vicariously through everyone else, it takes your focus away from what you're doing and your career, and like, how can you be better than the you from yesterday kind of thing, and how can you improve? So I just don't have time for it. I never really had time for it, and I've just decided I have even less time for it now. So yeah, that's the second thing I don't have time for. I don't know why I'm fiddling with this mini tripod. I picked it up. I needed a fidget. The second thing I do have time for in 2026 is Instagram memes. Now, this is such a silly thing, but I don't care. I have been trying to like curtail my my phone usage, because it is a one-way time machine to the future and to sadness, and I don't want that for myself. But one thing I have noticed that has been a godsend for Instagram is Instagram memes. I think it's just because there's the craftsmanship of a good meme, like, because some memes are not good. Like, there are some really weak theatre memes, like some theatre memes, some memes in general. I think people think because they're such a simple form of, I'm not going to say art, I don't know if I'd go that far, although some memes that I really do appreciate, I'm like, they're getting to that level. Let's say self-expression, internet self-expression. I think because memes are such a seemingly simple form of internet self-expression, people think you can just slap some text on a viral picture or a viral clip from something and be like, oh, it's so relatable, and it, like, that's it, you're done. And it's like, no, it's really not. I'm really particular about my memes. But like a good meme, it just hits in such the right way. The other thing I think what I like about Instagram memes is that they cover the spectrum of everything that I care about. Like good political memes, good anti-fascist memes, good theatre memes, good spiritual memes, like just so good. And the intersectionality between those sometimes as well. I love it. It just feels so good. And it really puts me in a happy place. Oh God, I feel like such a loser right now, but I don't care. So yeah, I love a good meme, and I don't know if I'm ready to step into the world of creating memes yet. I have created memes like for myself and my own pleasure. I don't know if I'm ready to be a public memer. And though that might not be my calling, and that's fine, but I really do appreciate a good meme. And I think it's the saving grace of Instagram for me. I mean, still, because it's Meta, I'm like, do I want to get off it? But I think if I do get off Instagram, I'm gonna have to find my meme kicks from somewhere, because they're keeping me going. What can I say? So that's the second thing that I do have time for in 2026. We need to get new doors. We need to get new doors. The third thing that I don't have time for in 2026 is being quiet. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I just self-censor a lot, and I'm done with it. I'm not gonna self-censor anymore. I do think there is a time and a place to speak, not in terms of like judging other people. I think like for yourself, I think, you know when you're speaking up out of, reaction or out of ego, when you don't actually have anything to say or contribute. I think I have such people-pleasing tendencies and perfectionist tendencies that I censor myself a lot. And I want to stop doing that, partly because there's a lot of things that need to be spoken about and that I want to speak up about. But then also, like, creatively, you're not going to create work if you just like keep censoring yourself. You know what I mean? There's that aspect too of like, part of being a creative person is to make those bold steps and take risks. And yes, obviously there is a, for want of a better word, safe way to do that, finding risks that edge your comfort zone and push it further and further without going so far that when you do inevitably fall and fail, because that's part of it, you feel so vulnerable that you can't come back in. I've definitely done that. There's a way to do it that builds you up rather than completely knocks you down with no way to recover. But yeah, it needs to be done. If I want to do the things that I want to do, if I want to make sure that I stood up for the things I wanted to stand up for, I can't let my worries about what other people think get in the way anymore. I just gotta put on my big girl pants, and it's scary. So that's basically that one. So being quiet is the third thing that I don't have time for in 2026. And hold me accountable, please. Please hold me accountable in a nice way. What do I have time for? One thing I do have time for in 2026 is self-love, because I'm too hard on myself. This is something that I've definitely been coming to terms with recently in terms of, my self-talk and being more loving and compassionate in my self-talk. But it's not just that. I think it's also, sometimes self-love is doing the hard things, like feeling the fear of doing it anyway, like saying what you want to say because you know that that's what you need to do, or even just like mundane things like me tidying this room today, which was just it was awful. I was just literally just surrounded by crap. Does anyone else have this? Like, I hate organising because you're like, oh, I want to make this tidy, but then you have to create more mess, and then you're in the middle of the mess, and then you start flagging and being like, I just want the mess to go away, but now I've got to find a way to put the mess away. And then, especially when, like, you realize it's a multiple day situation, like, there are things are away, like, it doesn't look like a bomb has hit this room. The next room, not that it doesn't look like a bomb's hit it, but there's definitely, like, things where I've just been like, look, I just need to get this out of the way, it just needs to go in there, it's fine. But there's definitely things that are not in what should be their final places, and that really annoys me. Like, I just want it all done in one go and just be like, yes, these are where these things live. But no, that's not what happens, because there's so much stuff. Why? Why do we have so much stuff? It's awful. Anyway, I did the self-loving thing of being like, if I want to use this room for more than just self-tapes and the occasional, like, YouTube video, I need to get rid of these boxes, and I need to sort things out, and I need to rearrange where my desk is and where my keyboard is. And at some point, I think I'm gonna get, like, those guitar hangy things for my ukulele and my guitar, and, you know, like, things needed to shift around, and I did it. It stopped me from doing everything else on my to-do list, but I did it. Where was I going with this? Yeah, sometimes the self-loving thing is doing the hard thing. And I think that's what I find really difficult as well. Let's be compassionate to myself. It's not that I'm not very good at self-parenting, it's just that I don't really know how to do it. So that's something that I'm learning. Definitely self-love is something that I want to make more time for. Both the kind of doing nice things, being soft and gentle with myself, but then also, like, giving myself a loving kick up the butt when I need to give myself a kick up the butt, and, like, being good at that kind of self-parenting side of, right, I know you don't want to do this hard adult thing, but if you do it, it will make things better, and then you can treat yourself to something else, kind of thing. So yeah, definitely trying to implement that more. So far it's working. I've made Tuesdays my doing my accounts day, and since I implemented that, apart from this Tuesday, but I was at the dentist, so, like, I gave myself a pass, but I did it on Wednesday, did it yesterday at the time of filming, so, like, so far, like, I've been staying on it, which is really, really good. Like, I'm really proud of myself. So it seems to be going well, but we shall see. Next one. The fourth thing I don't have time for, this is a really, I mean, is it personal? It's very, like, Britain-centric right now. Flags on lampposts. Like, I don't have time for them. I live in a flag place. Kind of more to end of last year in the autumn, there were flags coming. I'm not, like, in my, like, right near my town. I'm, like, a couple of miles out. Like, there's a main road, though. It's not like I'm in the sticks with cows. Although there are cows. That's not important. Yeah, so flags coming up to, like, where the main road, like, by my house is, and it was making me feel uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie, I'm brown. So yeah, and then, like, just before Christmas, the flags all got taken down. So I was like, okay, so maybe the council were just, like, waiting for the furore to die down, and then they got rid of the flags. Wonderful. Like, literally during the day, in the no man's land of time that is between Christmas and New Year's, people went out in daylight to put up more of these Union Jack and St. George's flags. And it's just like, do you have nothing better to do? Firstly, do you have nothing better to do in the no man's land time between Christmas and New Year when you're not working? I'm assuming they weren't working because they were putting up frickin' flags. Like, do you not have family that you care about? Do you not have turkey sandwiches to eat? Like, there's so many other better things, like shit TV to watch. Because, like, that's the best time to do it if you're not working between Christmas or New Year. Just get all the shit TV done. And then secondly, okay, you're so patriotic that you have to have these flags down. Like, firstly, the shitty polyester plastic flags that are just shedding more microplastics into the environment as if there aren't enough microplastics in our brains and our blood and, like, doing what God knows what kind of shit to us anyway. Secondly, like, is there nothing better to do? Is there no way you could volunteer? Could you not like volunteer with some old people who are lonely over Christmas? Could you not give money to a charity for like kids with cancer? Could you not go and, you know, volunteer at a food bank? Like, you say you care so much about this country and how it's going to the dog, but you'd rather put up flags than actually do anything that's actually going to help in your own community. Why don't you go clean up litter, like the amount of trash and rubbish that's just on the side on the verges? Anything else that you could have done with that time that would have made a better impact and actually contribute to the area in which you live. But no, you want to put up stupid flags that look really sad because they're on the lamppost. Like, if the top of the lamppost is here, it's like halfway down, so they're like half mast and just look really like droopy and shit. So it's like you're not even making them look that patriotic and amazing anyway. They just look like sad flags put up by sad people who'd rather, you know, do empty gestures at patriotism rather than actually do something that contributes to their own society that they're so worried about. I don't have time for it. It's stupid. I have no words. It just makes me angry. It makes me annoyed. It's just like, you don't actually care. You just have this idea in your head that like no one who's different than you existed before like the 2000s, maybe the 1950s. And it's like, no, different people, we're a fucking island. People have been here the whole goddamn time. That's all I've got to say. Don't have time for the flags. What do I have time for? What I do have time for in 2026 is open source applications. So my first foray into this has been a podcast app called AntennaPod. That's where I listen to all of my podcasts. I've been getting really into podcasts. So, like, side honorable mention podcasts I do have time for. Firstly, you know, we're not doing Spotify because they're investing in like weapons companies and shit, and it's just like and also Spotify do not pay their artists like the compensation. Just we don't like Spotify, right? So it was like, okay, definitely I'm at the point where I want to boycott Spotify. I wasn't paying for it anyway because I didn't want to pay for Spotify because of the aforementioned terrible business practices, and I was sick of the adverts, and so I was like, okay, let's see if there's somewhere else to get podcasts. I would recommend AntennaPod if you're looking for an open source, like not affiliated to big tech podcasting platform. But yeah, really enjoy it. To be fair, that was easy for me to do because at the time I wasn't a massive podcast listener. So it was really easy for me to look for an alternative because I wasn't actually listening to that much on Spotify. So I wasn't kind of like, I didn't have the sunk cost fallacy of like, well, they're all here and blah, blah, blah. But now I've done it, I really want to look into other alternatives. My big one is music because just freaking YouTube music pisses me off. I'm sorry. It pisses me off because like I listen to musicals, right? If you've been around this channel, you know I'm a theatre and musical theatre girly. I listen to musicals. Sometimes musicals have long songs. I don't want an ad in the middle of freaking what's that one from Operation Mincemeat? I can't remember the title of it because I haven't listened to it in a while. I've been more in a Benjamin Button and Joe the Little Women musical kind of era at the moment, so it's been a while since I've listened to Operation Mincemeat, so I can't remember the title of the song, but it's like 9 minutes long and I don't want an ad in the middle of it. It's telling a freaking story. At least with Spotify they waited to the end of the song until they gave you a gazillion ads for shit you didn't want. It annoys me, and I'm not paying YouTube because Google is just as bad as everyone else. They just have a monopoly on like freaking everything. So if anyone knows a good way like to either open source stream music or wherever, like at this point I'm happy to buy it. Like just tell me where you buy music from. Is it like Bandcamp? I don't know. Like it annoys me so much. Like the streaming of music annoys me so so much. I just want, like, call me an old millennial, but I just want to go back to freaking CDs. I just want to own shit. I want to be able to buy the shit and then I own the shit and I can play it whenever I want and not be interrupted by someone trying to sell me HelloFresh. Is that so much to ask? I'm getting really heated. Yeah. Anyway, so if anyone has any suggestions for music, the other one, again, because Google, it turns out, is trash, is I want to come up with a alternative for my email, because I obviously have a Gmail account, because basically everyone has a Gmail account, which is like fine, but also I just hate the fact every 5 minutes it's like, you've got 80% of your storage used, pay for all of this extra storage, and it's like, no Google, I'm not giving you money, piss off. So yeah, I think practically email would be my next thing to see if I could move over. But if anyone has any solutions to the music thing, because the music thing, it really annoys me. Also with CDs, you could like make mixtape CDs, or like, you know, I love that. You just being like, okay, I don't just want to have an album with anything. I want a song from this person, a song from that person, blah, 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 blah. I miss it. I miss being able to own things. Not because I think like, I mean like there's a whole consumerism thing, but like in terms of like art, anyway, that's probably another topic for another day. But yeah, open source platforms, really want to make more time for that. If anyone has suggestions, please let me know. Would love it. I can't believe I got so heated about the flags and about Google. So the fifth thing that I don't have time for is AI. After my previous rants, this probably comes as no surprise. I've been wanting to either write a blog or do a video about AI, and I haven't, just because I have so many thoughts. I find it so difficult to like organize them in a way where I can express them in a way that can be like taken in, if that makes sense. There's so many levels, and me and Josh every so often have like chats about AI, and I don't have time for it. I mean, I never had time for it anyway. Whenever I'm prompted to use AI by applications that have it integrated, I always refuse. I always endeavour to ignore the AI answers when I Google things. Without going into detail of what my issues with AI are, my issues with AI include, but are not limited to, just as a caveat because I'm riffing, so I may miss something. Obviously environmental impact. I know people are like, well, yeah, you use just as much resources by charging your phone overnight for 8 hours, blah, 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 blah. The acute impact on where the data centers are, like, not great. Obviously the impact on art and creativity, I think that kind of goes without saying. The, you know, inherent biases that are in AI generated prompts or whatever. It's not thinking for itself. It's just a large language model. It's just taking whatever it's finding in its data set and giving you basically the average of everything. So if you're using it for fact finding, you're not necessarily going to get what's true. You have no way of verifying what an AI has told you if you've asked it a question. The big thing for me that really worries me is about kind of the effects on our cognition with use of AI. Specifically, if we have a generation of people, and I'm talking about people who will now grow up with AI, because like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like, we have AI now, who are perfectly fine with, because they don't know anything else, getting an AI to basically think for them and then express thoughts for them. I just think that puts us as a species and as a society in a really dangerous place, because if you can't analyze and come to conclusions by yourself and then express those conclusions by yourself, how do you advocate for yourself if governments do things that infringe on your civil liberties or negatively affect you, or do things that you think are morally abhorrent, if you don't have the skills to do that, you know? I remember getting really freaked out, not freaked out like, but I was just like, this is completely ridiculous. It was an advert, I think for Google AI. In the advert, the person was like, Google, help me, write me a letter to my landlord to persuade them that I can keep my cat. And I was like, if you can't write, I mean, I know writing persuasively is a skill, and maybe, like, you know, it's a skill, so you need to learn it, and maybe you don't have that skill, but like, you're literally, you can't write an argument as to how to keep your cat, or like ask to have a cat to your landlord. Like, it's that shit that worries me, because it wasn't even like, can you please take this that I've written and make it more persuasive, which I still think like, that's not great, but like literally from scratch. And I worry about what would happen if we become so reliant on AI that we cannot think for ourselves or express ourselves, especially because with the majority of AI, like, if it's owned by big tech, then big tech can control the kinds of answers that it gives, right? You can program an AI to, because it's a program, you can program it to say certain things or not say certain things. You can program it to take into account certain data points and not take into account certain data points. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it's possible to do, because you just changed the code. You change the programming of the AI, right? And if big companies are in charge of that AI, if governments are in charge of coding the AIs that we use, then, you know, then what? What then, dear viewer? And you can make an argument of like, okay, well then, you know, anyone can program an AI, and that's true. I've watched videos with people who know how to code, who like make AIs. So yeah, if you know how to code and you have the software, you can write your own AI. How many people can do that? And how many people can be bothered to do that? And how many people would just get ChatGPT to write them the code for their own AI bot? And then how do you know that ChatGPT hasn't been programmed to be like, make sure that in the coding you stop anyone's AI from doing X, Y, Z? Do you see what I mean? Yeah. To be fair, I do think there are lots of places where AI is a really useful and important technology. I read an article a few weeks ago about AI being used in mountaineering to find lost mountaineers, because the AI can spot a bright pixel against just the white of snow in the background, like one pixel in however large an image, in like a couple of hours, where it would take humans searching with like rescue dogs and things days or weeks. And like, that's the difference between life and death if you're stuck on a mountain in the snow, right? I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but I know there's been, or I've seen articles talking about AI being able to diagnose cancer way before human doctors would be able to diagnose cancer from like scans. So there are definitely applications where it's like, yeah, AI, AI would be great here. AI is doing a net good for humanity when used in this way, in this context. Still need to sort out the environmental stuff, but even if the environmental stuff stayed the same, like this is a good thing to be like, let's keep on using it for this and like figure out how to make it better for the environment later. But there's so much shit where I don't think it's being used in that way. So like, I don't have time for it. I would rather do things the hard way and express myself in a flawed way, and draw in a shit way, then use AI to make everything sound the same and be bland and not be my own words and my own thoughts. I'm gonna have to stop there because I've got 3 minutes left, so gonna swap out the memory card. Woo! The fifth thing that I do have time for, I forgot to get it. Oh my God, 2 seconds. Sorry, editing me. I know I could have just paused it, but I didn't.
A few moments later.
The fifth thing that I do have time for is zines. I feel like zines are going to be such a good antidote for me personally to being chronically online, AI, just the shitification of the world right now, but we're gonna fight to make it better, and that is zines. So I did a zine workshop last year in December. I don't know why I'm so out of breath, oh my God. I did a zine workshop last December as part of a fundraiser for Palestine, for Quitches to Gaza. I'll link them in the description. They work directly with refugees from Gaza living in Egypt and also sending money to their families who are still in Gaza. So they're really great, and they like work directly with those families. They did a fundraiser, which was a zine making workshop, and so I made a zine. Look how cute it is. I love it. It's terrible, but I deliberately made it terrible. I literally, because I was like in a show when like the live workshop was going on, they sent a replay to everyone, so I did it properly with the replay. But whilst I was getting ready for the evening show, because it was on a Saturday, I kind of had it on in the background. And to practice folding it, I literally just got a piece of line paper from like one of those line paper booklets and folded it. And then I was like, I'm not gonna make this the rough coffee, I'm actually gonna make this the thing. So this is why it's on lined paper, and it's called My Shitty First Zine. And I wrote on the front, so it's called My Shitty First Zine and Why I Want to Start Making Them. And it says, Michaela, you made your first zine, huzzah! Is it shitty? Yes, and fabulously so. Because perfection is the enemy of done. Perfection is boring, and you don't need to be perfect. So that's my zine. I'm not gonna show you the inside, but on the back it says, go forth imperfect and rebellious. And yeah, I want to make more. I made zines as part of my presents to a couple of people. So for my Secret Santa, which I did take a picture of my Secret Santa present. I'll put it here for my Secret Santa in Christmas Carol, Jacob. He really likes penguins, so I crocheted him a penguin, but I also made him a zine with some fun penguin facts. And then on the fold out, I also had some penguin puzzles for him to do, which was really fun. And then for my mum, which I don't have a picture of because I was making it really last minute, but I wish I'd got a picture of it. Hopefully mum still has it. Because her gift for Christmas was kind of more of an experience, but I didn't know when she'd be free, so I made her a zine to be like, here's your present, here are your options, let me know which one, and then we'll book it in for you. So yeah, I really enjoyed them. I also want to make some more zines. There's a zine that I've started making like a draft of, like that's kind of on a more spiritual bent. I was thinking I might make a fanzine, like a musical theatre fanzine. At the moment, I think I'm gonna make them just for myself as like little art projects, especially these mini zines. They're literally just a folded A4 piece of paper. So they're really small, which is like really not intimidating. You don't have loads of space that you have to try and fill with stuff, especially when you can't draw like me. But yeah, I was also thinking like, I don't know, like just making random like zines with like positive things or whatever, and just like putting them around my town or leaving them on the tube or something. Yeah, I really like the idea of them. I love the history. I don't know a lot about the history of zines. Maybe I'll make a zine about the history of zines. Research project! But yeah, I love that they're punk as fuck. There was, in the workshop, the person running it, Imogen, who I think she's got a YouTube channel called Sapling Tarot. She's definitely on Instagram as Sapling Tarot. She was talking about how a lot of zines started, I don't know if it was specifically the Harlem Renaissance, but kind of around that time when basically black authors and artists weren't getting published because racism, and so they just did it themselves. That was kind of like their inception. I guess those are kind of the proto-zines maybe, but like all the way through it's literally just people being like, we're going to do it ourselves because, you know, fuck the establishment and needing to be like good enough for them. We want to do this, so we're just going to do it. And I love that, and I think that's great. And again, I love the DIY nature of it. I love the imperfect nature of it because it is so DIY, which again, I think goes back to the antithesis of AI, because I think the reason there's so much prevalence with AI, again, if you want a video about my thoughts, let me know, but I think part of it is the emphasis on product over process. I think it is slightly more nuanced than that, but basically, you know, we want the product to look a certain way and be a certain way. We don't have the skills to make it the way we want it to be, so we'll use AI to make it that way. Does that make sense? Let's say if I wanted to make an art-based zine, it wouldn't matter that I can't draw like a Renaissance artist. What would matter is that I would find a way to get my point across with the skills that I have, and maybe that would be collage, maybe that would be cartoony drawing, like there's a lot of cartoony drawing in this, whatever it is, right? But it's about the fact that I made it and I didn't let my lack of skill, for want of a better word, hold me back. And so I love that. I really want to make time to make little zines for myself. Maybe I'll share them at some point, like as I get more confident and feel like I want to share them, but I might not. Like it might just be for me. I also think it's important to have things that are just for yourself sometimes. So if I share them, watch this space. If I don't, then just know I'm hopefully making them in the background. So yeah, that's the fifth thing that I do have time for in 2026. The sixth and final thing I don't have time for, again, this is very specific to me and where I live, Maccys on my high street. A McDonald's opened on my high street relatively recently. I don't know how long it's been open now. I don't go in there. Yeah, a McDonald's opened on my high street, and it's not like I'm like, oh, McDonald's, why? Man shouts at cloud. Obviously, not a fan of McDonald's. They're on the boycott list for Palestine. Also, the food is shit. Like, no, like, okay, that was a bit harsh in the sense that Maccys just wasn't my fast food of choice growing up. My fast food of choice was KFC. Incidentally, I haven't been to Jamaica since I was 6 years old, but I do remember the KFC in Jamaica being way better than the KFC here. And actually, when it's come to boycotting for Palestine, like, KFC is the one that I really miss. Like, there are other good chicken places, don't get me wrong, but there have been times when I've been cycling home from the station when I was working mostly resting job stuff, taking a bit of a break, and like the KFC would still be open because I wasn't finishing that late, and like I'd smell it and be like, I wish I could get KFC, but I'm doing it for Gaza. Absolutely not. And like I've held true to that, but there are times where I'm like, oh, I wish I could just go get some KFC, but I won't. I'm doing it for the cause. But yeah, so part of me being like the food is terrible is because like I've never really been a Maccys fan. I don't get what all the hype is with McDonald's. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like the McFlurries are fine, I guess, if it's hot and you don't want to spend too much money on a milkshake, because milkshakes are expensive. Especially in central London. If you want something cheap and ice creamy, like a McFlurry will do you. But like other than that, like I could take or leave McDonald's anyway. So firstly, there's that. Secondly, like we're boycotting for Palestine, aren't we? So we're not going to the Maccys. Thirdly, some people flagged this when they were like voting to be like, oh, is there gonna be a McDonald's on the high street? And people were getting like very in their feelings about it. Like understandable. I was just like, I'm not getting involved because whatever happens, I wouldn't go there anyway. And people were flagging about, oh, there's gonna be more rubbish on the street, and you know, some people were talking about, oh, everyone's going to get fat, and I was like, that's a slightly fat phobic, and like I don't think like having a McDonald's is the only reason people put on weight, but whatever. But yeah, I will agree there has been a lot more kind of rubbish on the street, in the stairwell of the car park, that kind of stuff. So like yeah, they they were right on that one. Like, it's not great. But yeah, I just don't have time for it. And I don't have time to be angry about it either. There were loads of people when it finally went through, and like people were talking about backhanders with the council or whatever. Like, I don't know, I don't care. Like, probably, like, McDonald's has McDonald's corporation money. Yeah, they probably were able to persuade some councillors to be like, yeah, let's make this happen. But like, in terms of public opinion, from what I could see on like local Facebook groups and stuff, it seemed pretty 50-50. So I don't know if they had to push that hard in terms of Maccys. I don't think Maccys had to be like, we'll bribe you all of this money to give us our McDonald's on the high street. But like, people were getting really vehement and getting into arguments with each other when I was just watching, kind of just lurking on these Facebook groups, being like, dude being like, oh yeah, let's all go have Maccys. No, all of you woke people wanting your like woke cafes. And then people being like, it's terrible for the environment and everyone's gonna get fat. And I was just watching me like, neither of you are interested in actually having a discourse with the other side. You're just trying to piss each other off. So like, why are you doing this to yourselves? Just like, surely you have better things to do. Like, yes, I'm all for having a actual discussion with why I don't think McDonald's is a company that people should give their money to, but I also know when that conversation is worth having, and I think having that conversation on a Facebook group with the guy who hates woke lattes, that's not gonna be constructive. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna walk past the McDonald's. If I'm on the high street, I'm just not gonna go in there, I'm just not gonna give it a second thought, it's fine. Like, I can't stop people from going to McDonald's. There are bigger fish for me to fry, both in my life and in the world. I don't care. I don't have time for it. I don't have time for being stressed about the Maccys on my high street. There are other things for me to be stressed about. So yeah, that's the sixth and final thing that I don't have time for in 2026. Sixth and final thing that I do have time for, let's just consult the list. Let me just unlock my phone. Ah, yes. That was really loud. So sorry if you're listening with headphones. Final thing I do have time for, charity shops. I am lucky where I live that there are quite good charity shop options. I think because we live in a fairly affluent area, and so there's like good options. This jumper was a recent charity shop find. Was previously Zara, but was actually, I don't know what the name of the charity shop was. It was one of the hospice ones. It wasn't Rennie blah blah, it was another, Sue Ryder? I think it's Sue Ryder. Yeah. Are they hospice or are they nursing? Anyway, charity shop. It was Zara and, you know, terribly fast fashion sweatshop made, but I didn't get it from there, so it's fine. And I like the fake crochet because I actually crochet. Why have I got time for charity shops? I want to get better at charity shop shopping because I have realised that I don't have time to make my own clothes, and I'm getting to the point where I need to buy clothes. Over the last kind of 12 months, I've put on weight, which is not a problem, but it does mean there are plenty of things that don't fit me or don't fit me comfortably. One of the things that I really care about is the impact of fast fashion on the environment. I've never been a big shopper anyway. I've never really been consumerist when it comes to clothes, or consumerist really at all. The thing that worries me about the whole clothing and fashion industry is just how much clothing is made of petroleum-based products, so basically plastic. So you're talking polyester, you're talking nylon, you're talking acrylic. And that's something definitely in my crafting with crochet, I've now, as much as possible, like for my Secret Santa present, I did have to buy a polyester chenille yarn. But if it's for my own projects, I stick to natural fibres, or at least plant-based fibres. I will make an exception for things like viscose or bamboo. And, you know, that's not perfect either. Obviously, if you're vegan, wool, alpaca, whatever, is animal-based. So, like, you'd probably be like, you can't use that. things like cotton uses a lot of water. The kind of man-made fibers that are kind of cellulose-based, plant-based, use a lot of chemicals in the processing. So there's no perfect answer to this, but because I'm freaked out about microplastics, I'm like, no to the petroleum-based stuff. Like, if it's got petroleum in it, I don't want to touch it. But even without that, there is enough clothing in the world to like clothe the next 6 generations, which is bonkers. That's ludicrous. And so buying new clothes isn't wholly ethical either. Even if you do try and avoid, you know, petroleum-based synthetic fibers in your clothing. That's just really difficult. Like, I've tried, in times when I've needed to buy clothes, I've deliberately tried to look for clothes that do not have any percentage of synthetic petroleum-based fiber. It is so difficult to do. It's really difficult to do because there's so many things where they have a little bit of elastane or a little bit of polyester or a little bit of nylon, and you're just like, for fuck's sake. But also, you're still using new materials when there's already clothing that would probably do. My initial solution, because I've always been terrible at shopping in general, charity shop shopping especially, because everything's all jumbled, right, was to try and make clothes. So Josh's mum gave me a sewing machine, which I still haven't got round to learning how to use. Obviously I crochet, so this blanket that I've got on my lap at the moment, the viral 6-day star blanket, I crocheted myself. There's other things that I've crocheted myself. There's blankets downstairs that I crocheted. I want to crochet myself some leg warmers actually. I got the wool for it, I just haven't got around to making it. Yeah, so my initial solution to this problem was like, well, I'll just make my own clothes. That requires time, and whilst I do not use my time efficiently yet, so probably I could have time and make time, in the interim there needs to be a solution, and that solution I think is going to be being better at charity shop shopping for clothes specifically. And I have been better. I needed to get some more jogging bottoms whilst I was in rehearsal because I was just like, I need things I can move in, and I was able to find a couple of pairs in my local Asian UK on the high street. And that was great. Obviously I got this jumper, I've got scarves, love a scarf, I'm a sucker for a scarf, I'm a curly girl. So like, I am getting better at it, but I've become better at making charity shops my first port of call. Even if, you know, I'm going to wear this more than a couple of times. I have worn it more than a couple of times, but like, even this jumper in the charity shop, it was like £5. Even if I wear it a few times, and then if I were of like that kind of fast fashion-y mindset, I was like, okay, I'm bored of this now, I want to get rid of it. Like, A, I can redonate it, and B, I've still given £5 to a great charity in my local area. So it's like a win-win. Charity shops, something I do have time for, something I will make more time for, something that I think we should try and utilise more if and when we can. The next big thing with charity shops for me also is books, because my default is always to go to like actual bookshops, but that's still using resources and trees. So like, obviously some books just don't turn up in charity shops, and that's fine, or secondhand bookshops, but definitely want to, starting again, to be like, okay, first port of call, Oxfam books, secondhand bookshops, you know, seeing if I can find it elsewhere before being like, Waterstones, help me out. So yeah. So those are 6 things that I do and do not have time for in 2026. Oh my god, 6 for 2026! I didn't even realise I did that! I'm a genius! I'm not a genius. Wow. Let me know what you do and do not have time for this year in the comments. Yeah, in terms of this channel, gonna try and implement the self-love, the whimsy, the joy. Yeah, just we'll see what happens. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Come on down. Stay tuned for more theatre content from a UK perspective, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye friends!